What exactly is a music video? Some would call it a short film where musicians pretend like they can act. Others would call it a commercial for hairstyles and fashion statements we'll regret in a decade. But technically, a music video is where musicians channel their inner Hollywood and put together a visual representation that either complements or sometimes completely confuses the message of the song. But whatever you consider them, it's clear that music videos have been quite influential. So, let's take a brief look at the history of music videos. Believe it or not, music videos go back as far as 1894. That's right, 1894, when Edward B. Marks and Joe Stern hired an electrician to project a photo slide as they performed their song, The Little Lost Child. So basically, they played music while projecting images against a wall so the audience could see. And while it's true that wasn't exactly a music video, it was an early attempt to match music with visuals. So let's at least show them some respect for thinking outside the box. Around the same time, one of the earliest known films with music was made for the kinetophone, a device developed by Thomas Edison's lab. And although it was nothing magical by today's standards, it did combine music and video together. No, there was no crazy acting, no special effects, but it did represent some crazy, amazing dance moves. From there, we could jump to the 1920s, where movies, often called talkies, combined film with sound, and often a musical score. This eventually led to the 1940s, where something called soundies were created. These were used to promote musicians. Soundies were film-based musical presentations. They would typically show a musician recorded performing their song, and they were typically used for a device called the panoram. Panorams were essentially video-based jukeboxes, and they would play for patrons in bars, nightclubs, and restaurants, just as long as you fed it its favorite coin. So just imagine, you're in a smoky bar, there's all types of nicotine in the air, and there's a panoram in the corner. You drop a nickel in, and out pops the video of your favorite band on the screen, like you're summoning your own personal concert. From there, let's fast forward to 1959. Around this time is when Giles Perry Richardson, better known as his stage name, The Big Bopper, created the term music video. He often created his own versions for some of his more popular songs, like Little Red Riding Hood or The Big Bopper's Wedding. And although he's not the one who invented the music video, he is the one accredited with creating the term. And once the term entered the stratosphere, it stuck. In the 1960s and the 1970s, the Beatles took the concept of the music video and ran with it, creating all types of music videos. Now, many of their videos were simple recordings of them performing their hits, no different than any other artists. But a few of them, like Strawberry Fields Forever or The Yellow Submarine, were more psychedelic, colorful, and they contained an underlying narrative. But for the true proliferation of music videos as we know them today, we have to jump to the launch of MTV in 1981. MTV, short for music television. When MTV hit the airwaves like a neon tornado, it forever changed the way people view music. Literally.
Now, starting right now, you'll never look at music the same way again.
The phrase, "I want my MTV," became a cultural touchstone. It was the first 24/7 music channel, where people could watch music any time of the day. This created a time in the music industry where looks mattered as much as sound. Previously, everybody in the band could look like frumpy hippies, no problem. But in the MTV age, looks mattered. That didn't mean that you had to be beautiful, but it did mean that you or your video had to be compelling in some way. MTV, and later VH1, another music-based channel, short for Video Hits 1, allowed music to come to life on screen and often relied on experimental visuals, some of which, in retrospect, were far ahead of their time, and others, in retrospect, looked more like somebody discovered the special effects button on their video editor and couldn't resist pushing it. Repeatedly. The 1980s created some of the most iconic music videos that still resonate today. Madonna taught us that it was okay to be a money grubber. The Police told us that stalking and love go hand in hand, no big deal. And a band named Aha combined live action with illustrations to create a premise about a man stuck in a cartoon being chased by weird guys with bike helmets, whom he escaped by breaking out of the comic book and falling in love with a live-action female that he had just met. Clearly, this was the result of a late-night drug binge. Each video became a story, a fashion show, a dance-off, and occasionally a celebration of androgyny, often all rolled into one. But then there was Thriller. Thriller wasn't just a music video. It was essentially a 14-minute epic mini-movie. It had a plotline, special effects that were actually pretty special, and a dance routine that is still used in flash mobs today. Thriller included 2 horrifying images. The first was of the Walking Dead, zombies crawling out of graves to rejoin the world of the living. And the second was those same zombies busting a move. They performed full-on choreographed numbers in unison with one another, which goes to show that the afterlife does have dance classes. So we're all in luck. Thriller showed what music videos could achieve with a little imagination and a lot of makeup. It was thrilling, chilling, and broke more records than a clumsy DJ. By the early 1990s, different genres used different styles of music video. The 90s had moved from the era of glam, popular in the 80s, and placed it with a variety of different styles. Some explored the grunge explosion with bands like Nirvana, Alice in Chains, and Soundgarden. This led to music videos that were darker, more melancholy, symbolic. Meanwhile, some groups like Pearl Jam, Soul Asylum, and TLC used the music video medium to raise awareness of social issues like bullying, missing children, and the HIV epidemic. At the same time, there were some pop acts that simply created music videos with basic dance routines. As the decade progressed, it brought us rapid advancements in video technology. There were plenty of cool CGI and digital effects used in videos throughout the decade. Michael Jackson turned into a panther, Snoop Dogg turned into a canine, and Weezer were placed into a Happy Days episode, which was a sitcom recorded 2 decades prior to the time and was about 2 decades prior to that. So, to simplify, Weezer, a band in the 90s, made a video in which they were in a show from the 70s about characters from the 50s. You do the math. All types of different directors started using their imagination. In some videos, people didn't even follow the laws of physics. All of this showed how diverse the industry had become, with music videos being understated, overstated, and everything in between. But as the new millennium dawned, it wasn't the music videos that changed as much as the music industry. The 90s saw a move from cassettes to CD, but the 2000s saw the transition to digital music. No CDs, no DVDs or cassettes or 8-tracks or records required. Music was now just a file, an MP3. This made sharing music easier, which also made stealing music easier, which truly undercut the profits of the music industry and led to a shift away from music videos. Music videos were now being used more selectively because of the costs associated with them. The further into the 2000s we got, the further away from music MTV got. MTV started focusing less on music videos and more on lucrative programs like reality shows. MTV went from music television to moody teens venting. What were they venting about? Absolutely nothing. But as MTV declined, internet platforms like YouTube rose, and they allowed music videos to be accessible at any time. Unlike during the MTV days when people had to sit on their couch and wait for their favorite song to come on, sites like YouTube allowed you to watch whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted. Plus, they also democratized music, because now anybody could create a music video. Anybody could upload one, and equally, anybody could go viral and find success as a result. People didn't need a record contract anymore. If they were good enough, then success was theoretically in their grasp. All they had to do was put their own stuff out there. This completely changed music as a whole. A great example of the power of the internet and its virality can be seen with the song Friday. Rebecca Black was a girl whose mom gave her money to create her own video. She created the song, she created the music video, and she released it on YouTube. And the next thing you know, boom, she was famous. Not because her song was good, but because a lot of people said her song was bad. But it was so bad that it was good. The internet also allowed for greater accessibility to foreign music cultures. We could now embrace sounds from other countries, like Psy, the Korean singer whose song Gangnam Style, a song which is mostly spoken in Korean, became a number 2 hit on the Billboard Top 100 because its lyrics were catchy and its video was funny. It even birthed a dance that took off. Not because it was bad, because it was good. But it was so good, it was bad. Or something like that. This has allowed for easy exposure to other forms of music, like K-pop, short for Korean pop music, or the Latin explosion, represented by genres like reggaeton, or Afrobeats, which originated from West Africa. Nowadays, social media is where a lot of music is first discovered and shared. Artists can monetize their content in a variety of ways, videos or otherwise. And while many record labels are less likely to invest money in a music video for artists, given the way the industry's revenue has changed over the last 20 years, independent artists are more likely to invest in their own music video, given that just about anyone can create one, all in hopes of gaining popularity, and ideally exposure for their music. So, where does the music video go from here? Well, much like every other form of entertainment, the role music videos play will be greatly influenced by technological advancements. We're talking about virtual reality and augmented reality and artificial intelligence, music videos certainly being a potential part of that evolution. But one thing is for sure, although the days of sitting on a couch and getting lost in a slew of randomly presented music videos pushed by MTV are pretty much over, a new era of democratized music has begun. And since artists can gain independent success for themselves, much easier nowadays than they could in the past, without record labels, they will likely determine, at least in part, how music will be consumed in the future. Well, them and the robot drone kings who are slowly taking over the world, but one thing at a time.